Hello, welcome to Tony's Bonsai. Before I start the video, I want to thank Nikki, a friend of mine, for producing this wonderful new piece of artwork. I really appreciate that, thank you. Let's crack on with this tree. I've never really done anything with this tree on any of my videos. This was one of my first trees that I got from a local nursery a couple of years ago, and it's a Squamata juniper. I've managed to get some movement into it with wire. It's growing well, but it's got a couple of issues and a couple of different options. One of the issues is it's got very little taper. Doesn't seem to go up much, even though I've had some good strong branches growing down at the base. There's not much taper happening all the way up. So that's an issue. And one of the options that I did quite fancy, and I'm still toying with the idea, is to grow this as one of those bridge style trees. So by rooting this end in some soil and having these branches coming up as trunks. The only problem is I don't really fancy doing that kind of fiddly work with this Squamata juniper because it's really prickly and quite awkward to work with, and I'm not sure I fancy that kind of project with this species of tree. Therefore, what I think I need to do is select a new apex and make this more interesting. I plan on going about that by basically adding some more movement into this. Now this is thick, but one advantage is because it's already bending, it is then easier to bend. So what I'm thinking is cranking this around and then turning one of these branches up here at the top into the new leader. To get this bent down, I'm going to need something serious to anchor to, and I don't want to risk sort of digging into the pot and damaging the roots and stuff. So I've got this piece of wood here, and my plan is to fix the wood into position like that and then bend down to the wood. For a job like this, I want some strong wire, so I'm using this cheap steel wrapped plastic coated wire. You can buy it from, you don't even need to go to a garden centre, you can get it from the cheap kind of Poundland type places. Costs a couple of quid. And I'm thinking of wrapping this, doubling it around. So I'll start off by just twisting it like that to sort of secure it at one end there, and then I'll come underneath the pot like that and just sort of wrap the other end around here like that. So that's pretty secure. That's not going to go anywhere, even just with one coil. I could double it round and put another coil in, but it's just not going anywhere, that. The next job is to take a piece of plastic tubing, cut that off. I'll thread my steel wire through the tube, and that'll create a nice soft cushion because that's going to go around the trunk to be bent down. And now for the fun part, trying to get some bend in this here. I can move it with my hand, so it's not completely stiff. It is coming down, and by just bending it first, I just sort of begin to relax it into place. Before I apply the wire, I will put a roll of vet tape up this trunk. I'll be trying to get the bending obviously down at this bottom section, so my aim will be to apply a double coil. So I'll work my way up, and I'm tensioning this, so I'm pretty much pulling that so that the vet tape is fully stretched, and up we get and down we go. The vet tape is now nicely applied. I'm just going to push one end of my wire underneath this piece of wood there. The other end has to go in front of all these branches. and it goes up around the point up at the top where I'll be bending from. So I'm going to be bending around this trunk here. The higher up you go, the more leverage you get on the bend. So about there should be good. Just in there, down here, with the idea being that I can now bend and hold it in place with these as I do so. I'll be bending this over and twisting these wires together to hold the bend. But I'm going to show you from the back. I've seen this technique done numerous times. Ryan Neal uses it a lot on Bonsai Mirai. I think it's like a classic Japanese sort of technique. And I'm just doing it with pushing over with this hand, like that. Getting it into position and then twisting the wires with my left hand. And that should hold it in roughly that position, which is not bad. But I want to go further with it. So I need to get that down more. I'm actually just untwisting those wires. Go on. Go on. There she goes. See, the more kind of bend we get into that trunk, it does pop up a little bit. But the more I can get into the initial bend, like that, the better. So it's coming right down nicely, that. There we go. I've twisted that in, and that's now held in that new position there, which is quite good. I like that. I think I can go a little further with it. So I'm just doing more of the same, cutting off the metal, the excess metal. And then I'll be twisting this wire with my left hand as I push down with my right. There we go. That's better. That's coming over nicely now, that. I think that's enough. Or could it go just a little further, do you think? There we go. That's good movement. That's nice. That's got some good bend there. I'm happy with that. Much happier. It's back on the turntable. You can see we've got that branch basically over to not far off 90 degrees, which is great. It's added loads of character. It's pushed all these branches into a good place flowing outwards. But what I am thinking now is that this branch here just looks like a natural new apex. It's got a very sharp turn back, which I like. But what I'm thinking is, if I could twist this down like this, that's just in a better place. So all I need to do is pull this here down onto the stick. We've got our piece of wire with, I put rubber over it again, although this is going to be cut off. I may as well put a piece of rubber on. It seems to just hold better. And you can kind of see what I was doing with the pliers around this side. And all I'm doing is bending that down like that. And then twisting these wires together. A little hard actually, doing it left-handed. It'd almost be better with some grips that didn't let go. Tightening it up. And struggling a fair bit. But there, let's have a look first of all and see how that's looking from the other side. That worked out quite nicely. It's added a little bit more side movement to this, so this now goes over, it goes over and away, and then it twists around to this side and then goes up into the new leader, which is interesting. I think I would like to take this down just a touch more, because I know this will spring back to a certain extent, and I kind of like that position. So to sort of allow for spring back, I know I want to take it a bit further than it is, so I just bend it down and then just twist this wire in place like that. There, that's nice. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And this is obviously, as I say, that's going to be removed. There's no doubt about that. That has to go. And this becomes a nice new leader of the tree. This will spring back a bit, and this new leader's now will be coming towards us, possibly out in this direction. That looks really good, in fact. So I think I need to apply a wire to move this back in this direction. Now, because of these guy wires, I can't just wrap a wire around in my normal method. So I've got to actually start at the junction, which is a bit of an unusual place to start, but I can start here, and then I can rotate this wire up, bring it back around like that, and just doing that with thick wire like this, that's enough to hold this in position, and I can then come around. Whoa, this is painful on my hands, this Squamata junipers. It's certainly not a pleasure to work with. So I just work my way up with this wire. And then I'm looking at twisting this and rotating it round into a better position. We've got that nice bend coming back on itself, which, as I said before, I do really like. So I can rotate this and bring it round towards the front there. It's still too straight here, so I'll take it up out the way and then get some movement lower down there. Yeah, I would just like this whole section to just bend forward. Something cracked there. It was the back of the trees cracked. Only tiny, only minor, but enough that it'll still survive, but I need to push it back into place. So there we go. Just make sure that's pulled back, and then I'll just put some wound sealant on the back where it's made a small crack. But I like that movement there. That's good. I'll show you the crack that I made. If I push this forward, you'll see it opening up there. See that crack? It's not ideal, but in my experience, that's far from fatal, especially if I put a piece of wire just pulling that back into place. we've got a small gap there that a piece of wire can go down to. So I'll use that wire. There we go. And just pull this back into position there so that that crack is now really tight. I'll just twist that in there. So that's really pulling that together. I've tried this technique lots of times and I've always had great success with it. So that's nicely in there, and all I then do is take a good amount of cut paste and just completely cover that whole area with cut paste like that. I'll leave this now to dry, this cut paste, for 24 hours out of the rain, so this will go into my garage. And all I'm basically doing is just completely sealing all that in. This will turn into just like a big thick skin on the outside, and that'll be fine. I'm really not bothered about that crack for two reasons. Firstly, if you're going to do extreme bending and really go for it on trees, occasionally you're going to break branches off, crack trunks. That's part of the game, you know. You can leave it safe and do nothing and just have a boring tree, or you can go for it and occasionally things go wrong. But again, I think it'll be fine, that branch, anyway, in time. And even if that branch died off and it didn't work, I could cut this further back, I could turn one of these side branches into a new leader, and that may well work out better anyway. So you can't have fear with bonsai. I'm really happy with how that's gone today. This will stay in place for, I would think, most of this year, probably till next winter. Give it the full spring and autumn, summer and autumn to set in this new position, and I think there's some potential there with that. As always, thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.